you grow up with a NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Well, hello. Welcome out to another show. We are nearly at the end of our summer break hiatus, whatever you'd like to call it. It didn't feel like a break really at the beginning because we were still pretty busy on the back end. But yes, we've had some time off. We're coming back. Last I talked to Birdman, which was a day or two ago, the talk is we'll be back probably the week after Labor Day, depending on how the schedules line up. So we'll probably have one more review show just before the holiday weekend, just to make sure that, or just maybe just after the holiday weekend, I think technically the way this is going to be going, and that'll carry us into, our fall season, into full production, where we'll be back doing the news, more topical episodes frequently as we lead into the fall season. It's been a good break this year. It was needed. It was hot. With lots of other stuff going on. I've had some time to review some items that have come in. It's taken a little longer than I thought it would for a couple of things. I received a few items from FiiO. We should have one or two of the reviews in here now that were, previously live, or the first one at least was a couple weeks ago as well, because they needed a little more time to set in because there was more things to set with them and test and work that way. I've had some games on the go. Some were, sort of embargoed. You know how this works if you've been a listener for a while, that you'll get a game sometimes early before it's released, and they'll say, please hold your reviews until, X date before it comes out as part of the agreement. In some cases, we get a game the day of release or a couple days after release, which means that we're, a week or two behind some of the other reviewers because we get it as a day of release. And then there's no embargo, but we also don't want to release a review until we've actually played and completed it, because then it's like, it's dishonest. And I've seen, not pointing names and fingers and things, but I've seen some people that have released their reviews right at the time of launch, and I've gone, and after playing the games, I'm like, did you really play the game? It's that sort of situation. We never want to be put into that situation. So there's a few things on the go. I've also had the opportunity during this break to do some press only preview events. I can't say which ones yet, but I've done 3 of them, and what they are is like they're remote previews. You don't have to go in person, but you're sort of in a lockdown environment where you're getting a one-on-one interaction with the developer or publisher, and you get to check out some stuff that either hasn't been announced or is far away from being released, in some cases like a year out even, and you get to have some hands-on time with it ahead of time. So we've done a bit of that. This upcoming week is a very busy week because it's Gamescom. It's the European in Germany, the big trade show, their version of like what E3 was, if not bigger now, I think. Yeah, I think it's actually bigger. It's as big at least as E3 was at the end of E3, but it's big. We've got coverage of that. We'll be having an episode for sure on Opening Night Live, which is the English language opener that Jeff Keighley does every year with it. There'll be some other stuff that comes out from there. And that means that it's probably going to be a busy week on the gaming end of it, when we're going to be receiving a lot of gaming news and that. So we'll probably do some more prototype episodes coming up. It'll be more frequently as the fall starts. I have a few reviews, as I mentioned in here, a bit of a hodgepodge, some games, some audio equipment. I might have a movie or two. If not now, that might be saved for the next week. I think I've got one review from Birdman in here, probably a Transformer. He's got some stuff that he's been working on the go as well, which we'll have more reviews in the following week or so. And then, I'll come back at the end of the show here just to give an update on what programming is coming up, because we've had some stuff scheduled to come out for a while now. And we're, as I said, getting back to having more regular, brand new topical shows upcoming soon. So I guess without further ado, we're going to get into the reviews as we sort of have, it's like a mini-sode, where in past years we've had a large stable of stuff that we put together for like a back to school thing, because as of right now, I think in the States, a lot of families are either starting school up already or just getting started with it. I know that in general, most of the States, it's individual, but they tend to start school a little earlier than we do in Canada. For most of Canada, if not all of it, it's generally either the day after Labor Day, or depending on when Labor Day falls on the calendar, day of the month, it can then be the following week. So we're sort of aligning ourselves with our back to school coverage with the Canadian coverage of it. So we're having a few things instead of a large list previously. Over the last couple of weeks, and including this week and next week, some of the tech stuff that we've covered, like headphones or some of the stuff from FiiO, or we might have some stuff, I believe, coming from Kensington that's part of their summer and back to school stuff. We'll be talking about things like that a little more spread out, because we don't have a definitive list this year the same way we've done in past years, just because of how things lined up with companies. Also, as I imagine, it's going to be a bit weird as trade tariffs and all this stuff happens. Just like last time when this happened last year, it's more like trying to figure out what companies can ship what can we review. It's kind of weird on the logistical political back end of it, but as it stands, we will have some stuff here. Consider last week's show, this week and next week, to have stuff that you would be considered for your back to school considerations. And a lot of these items, obviously, as we get into the fall, might be something to consider for holiday gift guide. We will definitely be starting to compile that, plus reaching out to companies to see what they've got for their fall and winter selections for things. And there's always some cool stuff that we wouldn't have thought of, and you probably wouldn't have thought of, that gets sent out for we can check out. So that'll be coming, in the weeks down, closer as we get closer into the fall. But we've got a few things here we're definitely going to want to, have you hear about. And I'm going to send it over probably to myself, and I'll be back at the end just to give an update on our programming as well as what's up. Birdman and I might be making an excursion together this week, which will be fun because we don't get to see each other in person quite as much as we used to love doing when it was like a regular weekly thing. But life goes on. We're almost 10 years we're podcasting together. It'll be 10 years in a couple of months together, which is like time has flown by. But yeah, we'll be back right after this, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Alex, the producer here, and our friends at FiiO have sent over stuff over the last few weeks for us to check out as sort of a back-to-school ideas, things that you might want to get for the tech lover in your life, or yourself, as is the case with me. And we checked out, there's some cool headphones and headsets and stuff. This one in particular is the FiiO EH13. It's labeled as their hybrid active noise canceling Bluetooth over the ear headphone, wireless, all that fun stuff. Anyway, there are two different colors you can get: off-white and black. I was sent a black copy. It comes, retail packaging might be a little different depending on where you get it and region that. The box I received was a fairly plain white packaged box. Not a lot of details on it. It even said on the back that the images and stuff were maybe subject to change. So I'm not sure if I received the final packaging, or I might have received something that was more akin to what is sent out to people if they're doing reviews or samples, that sort of thing. So again, I'm not going to review the packaging because it seems like I might have gotten a slightly different package than other people, but the actual product is identical on the inside. And I've been using them now for a couple of weeks. I wanted to give them the full stress test of putting them through the paces of what Alex does with them, in that I use wireless headphones in my living room as my go-to for all of my television watching, movies, gaming. I very rarely will plug in a wired headset unless I need the latency to be at the lowest possible. I also use it for listening to my hi-fi setup. If I'm listening to records like on vinyl, then I will plug in a wired headset because I'm using, a higher end DAC, that sort of thing. But for most music, whether it be digital FLAC files, high-end audio file quality stuff, or CDs, or even my cassettes, I'll end up using wireless headphones. So this is a good state. And I've used headphones before that have been of middling quality but good battery life, or have been good quality when it comes to the audio codecs they use and the actual build, but then low battery life. This is a good balance of both. It's also one of only 2 or 3 headphones I've ever had that do have true LDAC codec support. That is the Sony proprietary codec used for their form of high-res audio streaming over Bluetooth. And my go-tos for the longest time, usually I don't mention brands between things, but I'll mention what I personally had been using for years. I had a set of Soundcore Q45s, which were, advertised at, 40, 50 hours of battery life. And then they were the LDAC ones, because I would use them whenever I needed to listen to something that was higher res that I didn't want to plug a wire into, because LDAC tends to be the best sounding to my ears for wireless compressed Bluetooth signals. And my computer is set up where I even force, I have an alternate Bluetooth audio adapter software driver that I specifically use to force a codec. Otherwise, it'll default to the crappy SBC or the AAC codecs that are much lower quality that the general users won't necessarily notice until when you know. It's that sort of thing. So I've always been very adamant about using that. I even bought a special antenna to replace the built-in antennas to my Bluetooth and Wi-Fi adapter card on my computer, so I could get really strong extended signal so that I wouldn't have like latency or choppiness or anything. So I do know my stuff when it comes to Bluetooth headphones, and I can say these are pretty good. On a personal level, I think the LDAC is really, really good. The implementation here is pretty solid. These have 40 millimeter dynamic drivers. That's still going to be the only real difference between this and a couple of the other LDAC headphones that I've had. The other ones that I've had have sounded, to be honest, slightly better. They're usually ones that are 50 millimeter dynamic drivers, but more importantly, they cost a lot more. So the other headphones that I've had that use the same codec and are of the same build quality end up costing about $140 Canadian after tax and everything. These, as of right now, if you get them on AliExpress and have them shipped, even including shipping, you're looking at less than $80 Canadian. That's the back to school deal. You're saving $10 on there. I'll put a link in the description where you can check it out. But there is no affiliate link. We don't usually do that because we don't want to feel like we're pressuring somebody to buying anything. If you're interested, this is where to go. I can say these are some of the best sounding headphones for the price point that I've had in a very long time. And you know me, I'm always about trying to be as economical as possible while having the best quality as possible. I'm not even somebody who cares about how they look. Prior to wearing these, which I've been using, I'm actually using them right now as my monitoring devices while I'm doing my recording. These look really good. But prior to this, those old Soundcore Q45s that I've had for years, the band on the top broke, the ear cushions are broken and ripped open. I have it completely duct taped up on the band. It looks like something I found in the trash because the sound quality was so good, but the battery life on those has gone down to about 8 hours of even with active noise canceling off. I'm only getting about 8 hours in them, but they were just so good that I couldn't use them. Now I can finally retire them because these sound almost as good. They look great from their sleek, and they fit comfortably. They don't hurt my head or ears wearing the headphones for a long period of time. They advertise a 75-hour battery life. 75-hour battery life is like with the lower end codec on, active noise canceling off, and the volume down low. They always advertise that. As far as active, like using LDAC at the medium codec setting, so it's about 600 kilobits per second, not the 900, because that can get kind of choppy. But at 600 kilobits per second, which is, I would say, with that compression algorithm, about the same quality you get out of CD audio, personally, to my ear, which is way better than most Bluetooth headphones get. I get, with active noise canceling off, and that in that mode, I get about 45 hours at about 80% volume. So, like these can go sustained quite well. If you put it at like the highest quality of the codec setting, and then you have active noise canceling on, and you have it at that kind of volume, you're probably, out of that 75-hour battery life, realistically, you're probably getting about half that. And that's just because, they never rate, any company, it's not just FiiO, it's any company never rates their battery life on the highest quality setting. It's always based on like a moderate volume with noise canceling off. Anything that could drain the battery is turned off or turned down. But keeping that in mind, this is still pretty much like leader in class quality when it comes to the battery life in it. The only downside I will say to this is there's two little small things. This does have the ability to be in wired mode. But in wired mode, it's weird. It has a headphone jack on it. When you plug it in wired mode, the headphones still have to be on. So they have to be powered to work. There is no other headphones I've had have a pass through when it's turned off, it'll be completely powered just by the headphone jack. That's not the case here. Wired mode sends the audio signal through the analog into the headphone, but it still needs to be powered on to actually work. That does increase the battery life, and that's how you can get up to the 75 hours with the noise canceling on, is if it's in wired mode and it's not actually using the Bluetooth to transmit any signal, because that's what drains battery faster. There is full support for the FiiO control app, which is fully customizable. That's how you can do firmware updates if you need to it. There is call noise cancellation. I've done a few phone calls with it. It sounded pretty clear. It's not the best because it's not a separate microphone like that you could attach, like put in front of your mouth. But it does have, pretty good quality. The dynamic driver has a good range. There's nothing too tinny. It doesn't seem too tainted in being like too bright or being too, bass heavy or anything. It's pretty solid throughout. I've had, pretty good experiences overall with it. The other thing that I was going to say that I'm not a big fan of is you can't charge while having it on in listening mode. So if the battery gets real low and you get an indication that you're at like 10% battery left, and you plug in your USB cable to charge it, it will turn the headphones off, and they can't be turned on while they're charging. That's obviously a method to protect the battery or do whatever. Some of the higher end headphones that are in the higher price class than this, those ones tend to allow you to play and charge. So you can be plugged in while you're listening to music, and it will slowly trickle charge up till it's full. That's not a feature here. So that's the only thing that I would say is hampering it from being up in the upper echelon. That and not having the ability to play it completely in offline mode, in a passive analog mode. But those are not going to be use cases for every single person. It's just two things that I noticed while I was playing it that I have become accustomed to on some of the higher end stuff. But again, those higher end features tend to be when you approach that over $100, $130 price range or more. This coming in at about $70, $70 to $80 depending on the sale price, and then about $5-6 for shipping if you get it on AliExpress. It may be different if you get it from a different local store or your area, but at that price point, this is pretty good, pretty solid features, and it's become my mainstay listening device for everything I do in the living room. Unless I absolutely must be wired in for some reason, this is my go-to now. I think it's solid, and it's at that price point where it could be really good for somebody going to school, going to college. You're looking to get a good set that, they fold up, they charge pretty quickly. I had no trouble using a standard slow charger with it or plugging in one of my quick charge devices that I use for my phone. Sometimes headphones don't like it if you're not using the exact right charger with it. This seems to take anything I plug into it, and it negotiated the right charging rate. When it was finished, it was ready to go. It actually starts up very quickly. Some other headphones you have to hold for like several seconds, and then it just says connecting, and then it does. This is like hold for 2 seconds and the power button. It pops up and it just goes doodle and it goes connected. It was that quick to reconnect to any device that I have. So I'm very happy with it. I think it would be good for school, for work, whatever. I also think it might be something you might want to consider as a good gift for the holidays coming in the, later on in the year. Maybe something to pick up. I like the black one. It's sleek. There is a white one if you want to match it with something. Like I've got a white computer and I've got my Xbox and that is white. So I could have gotten a white one or something to match it, but black, it's a classic. It works with everything. It will fit larger heads like mine because it's always a concern with somebody who has a big noggin like me. No issues with it whatsoever that way. Very solid. I'm very happy that there's something in this price point that also has good LDAC support. So that's something to keep in mind. It's very versatile, will work with a lot of different devices. Very happy with it. Link in the description. Maybe it's something you'll want to check out for yourself. Alex, the producer here, just with a little game quickie review. Our friends over at NAS America at NASA have sent a review copy of Brigandine Abyss for us to check out. This was provided to me on the Switch 2. It's also available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. This is a game that I had a chance to check out, a sort of press preview event to show it off a little bit earlier than the release date. Obviously, I was sent a review copy. I've had a chance to play it now. Plays quite well on the Switch 2. This is something that, it translates quite well because of the graphical style. It's not something that is like top tier AAA. Oh my God, they spent $1 bazillion on it. No, it's just a solid turn-based strategy game with, some of the bells and whistles that you'd hope to see. If the name rings a bit of a bell to you, it's probably because the original was one of the more popular, if niche titles originally published in North America by Atlas, back when that was like the only game in town on PlayStation, really. On the PlayStation, Brigandine, and then the subtitle for it was it Brigandine, The Legend of Forsenna. I think out of the, when Final Fantasy Tactics came out, there was a push to get more tactical RPGs localized in the West. There had only been a few before that. And this was one of the ones that came around that time that was probably one of the more high-profile ones. It was, high quality, limited print run back in the day. Became sort of legendary for how expensive it got on the collector's market later on. And then, you jump forward to like 2020, and there was a sequel that came out on Switch, PS4, and Windows. And that was, again, 6 years ago. Which was a bit of a surprise, so I'm happy to see that there's even another one out. I didn't play that previous one. I played the original. A friend of mine actually had it in 2000 or 2001, like near the end of the PS1 era, and I remember playing it. I didn't beat it, but I played it with him a fair bit. We would take turns on each mission, that sort of thing. So I'm happy here to sort of just jump in. And it plays pretty well. It's something that works really well on the Switch 2 because you can play it in portable mode. It's not going to drain your battery like crazy. It's, only a handful of gigabytes, so you're not taking up any more of that precious space than you need. And you do definitely need that nowadays with how expensive all of extra storage has gotten right now with the AI bubble and all that stuff. So that's always appreciated. There is a fair amount of good variety in like the strategy that you're playing. It's free form progression in story mode, even, so you can sort of go at your own pace. There's mission mode, which is like a sandboxy sort of experimentation strategy mode that you can play. There is a progression layer. You can get like really lost in it. Really good music, by the way. Really good music. If there's any cons that people would say, hey, I don't know, it's not the most visually appealing game out there. It's clearly in that AA category, if that makes sense to people. But that's all that you really want when you want a solid game like this, especially one that, like I said, packs a fair punch in for a smaller install size. There is some repetitiveness to its design. It wasn't like corners were cut or anything, but it's a little slow to get moving. And once it gets moving, then it feels good. The AI can be a little wonky at times, but that can also be used to your own advantage. You can, it's one of these ones where it's not just a square grid. It is the tile multi-sided grid, so you can attack from multiple different angles and get advantages and all that fun stuff. The overall design and localization is pretty good. If you're itching for something like, let's say you played, I think anybody who's a fan of tactical RPGs in the last couple of years probably played the remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it, of Final Fantasy Tactics. That's the big boy in the room. Everybody knows that. And if you're itching for something more, and you're like, hey, I want some more, I want more tactical, I want something also from that era that's been modernized and brought up to date, then Brigandine Abyss is probably your best go-to for that. It's something you can pick up and play. You can, I wouldn't necessarily say binge this for hours and hours and hours on end. Do a mission or two here and there, something you can pick up and play before bed, especially in like handheld mode on the Switch 2. I had a ball doing it that way. I think it's totally worth it, and I hope it doesn't, completely fly under people's radar. So if you're listening to this and you're a bit of a tactics fan, I think this is a good one to go with.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. Once again, I'm here to talk to you about something that I loved, and hopefully you do too. Our friends over at Hasbro sent over some more Transformers, and this was one I wasn't exactly expecting to be reissued. I'm talking about Transformers War for Cybertron Siege Greenlight with Dazzle Strike. So this was originally a retailer exclusive, I want to say back in 2019. So this is based upon Chromia and Moonracer, and there was another one called Nova Strike, and this ties into a G1 episode, I think called The Search for Alpha Trion. So this is one of the few times you see a lot of the female Autobots that isn't, Alita 1 or RC. And this is one that a lot of people were looking for. I remember seeing this pop up a number of times on Reddit and other forums, people saying this was almost impossible to get because it was so limited in its release and the production numbers weren't exactly super high, so people were paying a lot on the secondary market. So when Hasbro sent one over, I was like, okay, cool. I'm a big fan of the Moonracer Chromia mold. This is pretty cool. I like green. Neat. What do you get? Well, you basically get this figure with a Battle Master, which is sort of like a sword with this cool flame effect on it. And they have this armor that can attach onto the front or can be used as like a shield kind of weapon. And they turn into like this futuristic kind of car, I guess, would be a good way to describe it. And again, it's kind of cool how it fits in with the female Autobots. It does have a unique head compared to some of the other ones. I think Nova Storm or Nova Strike is the closest comparison to it. But again, having the green and white highlights is what really makes this figure visually stand out, especially when they start wielding their Battle Master, which is Dazzle Strike. I think it looks really, really sharp. And it does fit in well with the rest of the Siege toy line. So if this was a figure you missed the first time around, if you're a big fan of this mold, I do think it's worth picking up, especially if you're a completionist and you miss it during its initial retail run. If you can pick this up, I think it's a good way to fill a hole in your collection. I know TFCon Toronto just passed, so if you don't want to pay a convention price, you should be able to find this fairly affordable at retail. You can look on places like Hasbro Pulse, some of the other major online retailers that tend to specialize in Transformers, and hopefully you will help complete your Autobot female trio that isn't just Alita 1 or RC.
Alex, the producer here, and let's take a moment. I guess it's a little bit of a geeky lesson, but we're not going to go too in depth. I think pretty much everybody knows that I'm the not an audiophile, but I'm the audio guy. Birdman is the audio guy as far as training in radio goes, but I'm the audio guy when in terms of quality and understanding things like dynamic range and yada, yada, yada. I am the audiophile on a budget who can't afford audiophile equipment. I also think that super high-end audiophile equipment is pretentious and a lot of times placebo effects and yada, yada, yada. I'm the guy that goes for, I would say, mid-range audiophile. That's what I'm looking at. And our friends over at FiiO have sent a few items for us to check out. You've heard me talk already about one of the gaming headsets that they came out with that I'm actually using to record with now, because it's fairly clean when you plug it in directly. I've talked about it previously. Listen to our previous episode from a couple weeks back, or when it was live. And it's a solid set with like a USB-C adapter and everything, but also can be used analog. And I use an analog with my recording equipment because it's actually very clean when, especially when you're not hooked into any DAC. But even the DAC itself is good. Yada yada yada. That's a review from the past. But they also sent a few other items, and one of them is the FiiO Dm15. Now, what is that? It is a brand new portable CD player, stereo CD player, standard, what you think like a Walkman, no, it's not branded as a Walkman because it's not made by Sony, but if that's what comes to mind, great. Only it's like a Walkman on steroids. The super duper crazy expensive high-end stuff a lot of times is branded as a CD transport or a portable CD transport. This is where the lesson comes in. A CD transport, for anybody wondering, what the heck is that? That is something that is essentially just the CD drive, and then the with really, really, really high-end components that then you have to hook up into your DAC amplifier, either a DAC, or you'd have to plug into a pure digital thing, like through optical into a receiver that then does the conversion to play. And that's something that, if you want to think about it in terms of old AV equipment, think how a turntable, like a record player, an entry level, like a really low entry level one, might have a built-in speaker, or might have a built-in DAC or a built-in phono preamp that you can then plug into other speakers or plug into headphones, that sort of thing. That's usually the cheaper low end. And then when you get to the mid-range or higher, I have a mid-range one, in the $300 or $400 range that my uncle gave me because he was working for this company as an intermediary. I have a Project. That's the company, Project, Project. It's a good one. It's a turntable that has, it's like the highest end you get before you go to full audiophile, where they don't come with a preamp. This one does have a preamp built in, but you can technically bypass it if you want to, and it still has the ground and everything you use. And that's sort of where I sit when it comes to it. Like, I have a good turntable that then I can turn the phono preamp off if I want to hook it up to a good proper stereo preamp, or I can just hook it up as is, which is what I usually do, into my modern surround receiver through the line in on the back. So if you think about it in those terms, that's what a CD transport is. This is sort of in between. It's a higher end portable CD player because it does have the DAC built in where you can plug your headphones in. You can also plug in line out in the back. You can also get digital outputs in the back of it. I'm going to pull it out of its case here so I can just sort of talk about it. It comes with a fairly thick quick start guide. Quick start guides and multi-language, but it is well appreciated. It also comes with coaxial out, because a good CD player, I have a older CD player from the mid 80s that I got at a thrift store for $10 that still worked, and the lens wasn't busted and there's nothing wrong with it. I was lucky to get that about 7 or 8 years ago at a thrift store. And those ones, back in the 80s, not everyone, less high-end ones, had it. They would have your line out, which is line out being stereo RCA out on the back. It had a headphone on the front of it, and then it also had the ability to have coax, which is basically an RCA jack that specifically is the digital signal through it. So you'll see that on your standard like DVD players, and sometimes even some of the Blu-ray players. Even some of the 4K Blu-ray players will have that as a fallback option if you want to send the audio out separately from the HDMI signal. And what this has in the back is it has a headphone style jack with a little adapter that it comes with that goes into that RCA if you want to use it that way, if your receiver or your speakers or whatever audio you're using to play from it, if it has that output. Interestingly as well, on the back of this guy, this has that jack can be used as a line out jack, so you can plug it in and it can go analog to RCA left and right. It can go coax, which is the little adapter comes with, or optical. I've had players that have this before. You might have seen them as well, where sometimes it'll be like a headphone jack, but it's actually the connector is actually an optical cable with a red light that flashes on it, and on the other end it'll be a standard optical cable that you see on most standard even game systems like PS2, PS3. I think I don't know if PS4 might have still had it, but PS2, PS3, that era would have that as your output, and that's how you could get surround sound up to 5.1 channels through that. But it's also how you get crisp and clean direct audio that isn't then converted by the internal DAC if you want to send it out to like a higher end system. But this actually has quite a good DAC built in. It also has USB input, so if you plug it in via USB, it's powered by USB-C as well. It does run off several hours or so depending on the volume that you're using in that. It has battery built in that you can run off portable mode. There is a glass top on it, which is actually pretty sweet. I'll put a link in the description of the show for you so you can check it out, so you can see the disc spinning in top. It's got a really sturdy metal finish to the whole thing. The actual lid is magnetized, and it came with a little glass lid, see-through lid, that has a screen protector for it. I put it on. It's got a couple blotches because I wasn't the most careful putting it on. I'm not as picky when it comes to that as some people might be. I just wanted to make sure that I had some scratch protection from it because it's got a really, really nice feel to it. On the front, it has two different sizes of headphone jack. It has your sort of standard headphone jack, and then it also has the ability to output sort of a balanced audio out. And there's balanced line out in the back as well, so there's a separate jack for that. So it has all of the connectors that you'd want for like a high-end system, as well as everything that you'd want for your standard user that just wants a good, solid CD player. It's light enough that you can take it on the go. It's not something you're going to put on like you could potentially put it on your belt and carry it around, but it's more like something that you're not going to be jogging with it, even though it does, have a mechanism that holds the disc in place. I wouldn't recommend doing it because it'd be a little heavy holding it. It's got some heft and weight to it. It's something that you're going to be using like at your desk. Like I'm going to have it in my audio console on the right where I've got my stack, which is a very unique stack for, I guess, somebody like myself. It's like I've got a record player on the right, the turntable. I've got an old CD player from the 80s. I've got an old tape deck from the 90s above it, and then I've got some game systems above that where I watch I've got a Xbox One S that I use for my 4K movies. This is going to be sitting on top of that and hooked up into my big surround sound stereo set because it has the subwoofer and everything. But when I want to take it on the go, if I want to put it in the bedroom or I want to listen where I'm laying down or sitting somewhere and put my headphones directly into it, I can totally do that. Or if you're taking it to school or to work and you want something tangible, CDs are back in vogue again. They're back on the rise. In the age of people getting more and more upset about not having the ability to play songs that they own, quote unquote, because of, we've seen what's happening with gaming where physical media is going away. People are finding out that they're only paying for licenses. What happens to your digital library if it goes away? Streaming is good to a point, but it's not the same as the tangible act of having a CD or having a cassette or having a record, looking at the artwork and playing it. There's something just cool to know that you have something that is going to work for potentially ever if you take care of it. And that is what you get with this. It also has the ability to plug into your computer and be read as like a regular CD drive, and so you can use it like that. I also found out that you can plug in a USB drive to the back of it if you so choose, and have the ability to back up your music into a format that you can then play on the portable on the go. So it has all that built in. There are different equalizer settings, ESP modes, a whole bunch of other stuff on this. It's high-res audio. It has the ability to transmit Bluetooth to Bluetooth headphones if you want to do it that way. If you do so, you end up with quite a high-quality signal because It does use Qualcomm's aptX HD and aptX Adaptive and latency. If you have headphones that support that, it'll support high-res audio over Bluetooth, which is great to have as well. There is the ability to turn on a magic bass, or what we used to call a mega bass mode, basically a one-flip switch for a EQ'd bass option, which bass boost that you used to see on all like consumer level tape players, cassette players, Walkmans, that sort of stuff back in the day. So I love that they had that, and they just included that in here as well. There is an on-screen display as well as physical transport buttons on the front. It comes with a little remote, one of those little ones that takes like a watch battery that I would be worried that, you know, maybe I could lose. So I'm probably going to take that, put a little two-sided Velcro on it or something, and I might stick it on the side of this or stick it on the top on the part of the glass. It may not be the most pretty thing to see, but I'm always going to be afraid that I might lose the remote. But if you do, it's not as big of a deal, because almost every button on here is dedicated button for, you know, play stop, the EQ modes, the power button, fast forward, rewind. Everything that you want is a physical clicky button on there. And then there is a control knob that you can press in that has a click in button, as well as left and right, up and down. It has individual click sounds. It's very, very good that way. And then the remote has obviously all the other features, so you can set this on your shelf, like I was saying, put your CD in, and then from a distance away you can see the LED screen, and you can program it to, you know, play whatever track order you want, stop and play whatever, and you don't have to physically get up and move it if you don't want to. But if you do have it on the go with you, if you're laying in bed or on somewhere and you're having it on your desk, you have quick touch access buttons in the front that are just easy to access and work with. Very solidly built, very high quality. Very happy with this, and it seems to be at a reasonable price considering what sometimes the cheapy CD players that you see go for, they'll be like 30-40 bucks on Amazon, and you know they're crap and they're gonna fall apart. Those are like what you give a little kid to have their first CD player, or something you take with you on a vacation when you're you know, afraid of losing something or having something stolen. It's high quality. This is something you purchase that you know you're going to be using for years and years and years, because it's high quality. I'm very happy with it. The reason I took a little longer to get this review out is I gave myself a couple of weeks to get familiarized with basically every feature in it. I am very impressed. I'd love to see more from them. I hope I get a chance to review more, because I'm very happy with the quality of this. And I do think if you're looking for something, this will probably be on our holiday gift guide as well. So like, this is something that if you're looking for a portable, you know, CD player that you can use on the go, if you're, you know, sort of a hipster, modern person in college, you want something that doesn't take up a lot of space, you could potentially get this guy, get yourself a cheap set of decent stereo bookshelf speakers, hook them up to the back, and have your own portable stereo system that can fit on most dorm room and desks, or just have a good pair of headphones that you plug in. Or, you know, you could still go and get by with doing Bluetooth. You could have this connect even to a wireless Bluetooth speaker system. There are some decent stereo Bluetooth speakers you can get, and then you could just basically place them wherever you need to. And even if you're in a situation then where you're perhaps limited by where you can plug things in, you can get several hours of play out of this with just off the battery. And if you had a Bluetooth operated speaker that you could potentially, you know, have a wireless solution you could take with you outside or on the go, it's pretty solid. And I think it'll also end up making a pretty good gift for the holidays. So keep an eye out for it. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can check this out. It's going to be available, you know, pretty much anywhere where FiiO is sold. So keep an eye out. The Dm15, you know, R2R, I think is the model. Yeah, Dm15 R2R. Very solid CD player. Very impressed.
We don't have a choice. You and me, we've seen a lot of things, done a lot of things, but this is something else.
Please don't touch that.
I don't know if I'm doing any of this right, Faye, but I'm trying. I love you, Faye. More than anything. When I'm done in there, proof of that kiss.
Alex, the producer here. Our friends over at Frogwares sent a review copy for us to check out of The Sinking City 2 on PC. If you're wondering, where have I heard that before? Well, The Sinking City 1 came out a few years back, I believe shortly before the pandemic had hit. There was some kerfuffle that we won't go into with publishing rights here and there. Yeah, that made the news headlines probably more than the game did, unfortunately. I didn't get a chance to check out the original, but I'm actually probably going to go back and check it out myself over the next little bit if I have extra time, because this was really interesting. I'll say this: you don't had to have played the original game to play The Sinking City 2, because they are completely different plots. As far as I know, either completely different worlds or taking place at completely different times, or they might be connected, but there's no direct connection. Different protagonists. You can go in blind like I did. I was worried that I was going to miss, it even starts out as if maybe you should have seen something that happened in the first game, and then you quickly realize, no, this is a completely separate story. Think of it like Final Fantasy. Every story is a little different in a numbered title. But the basic premise here is it's very Cthulhu coded. It's very, it's very H.P. Lovecraft coded, taking place in Massachusetts in the 1920s. Basic setup, I won't spoil anything in here, is a couple. One is like a private investigator, Indiana Jones-ish type. One is like a librarian, sort of occult researcher type. They're a couple. They want to they want to do something called an experience called the dreaming. It's stuff tied to the Necronomicon-y, H.P. Lovecraft stuff. I'm not as versed in that as Birdman is, so it was all kind of new to me. But essentially, at some point, they invoked something, and the female partner's life force has left her body. Basically, her soul's left. She's left with a mystical mask on, and the main character is going to a library to try to get a book that can maybe do a ritual to fuse her soul back in her body. All the while, the city that you're in, Arkham City, is basically sinking into the water. There's been a catastrophe, calamity. There is something called the Slither, which are like otherworldly, dark ones, snaky things that can enter the body and turn you into like crazed zombie creatures. It's fun, standard fare, but fun. And what's interesting here is the first game, from what I've read, was more of a traditional RPG with investigative elements where you had to solve puzzles, investigate people, and infer things from them to then solve crimes. And then it would also do things to mess with your sanity, because it had sanity checks similar to the RPGs based on that property. And this is more different. This is more like a Resident Evil meets a action sort of game, because there is survival elements, but there is the option, if you're having trouble, you get stuck at some point, if the combat's too hard, or you've run out of resources, yada yada, you can go in pretty much at any point into the menu, and you can turn on invulnerability mode if you're really stuck, and you can move on. I've tried it with on and off. I tried messing with the difficulty. You can change the difficulties for combat. You can change the difficulties for the mystery puzzle aspects, where it gives you more or less hints if you get stuck. Because there are some that are a little bit like, what? I had to do that? I will say one thing without spoiling the plot. There is a part of the game, one little section, where I was like, what am I supposed to do? I did have to look it up, because the things weren't piecing together in my head. And it was, oh, it's at this one thing. And I was like, okay. And you have to melee attack a specific part of the wall. And if you read all the clues, it would hint that you do that, but it just wasn't clicking with me. And I was like, what? And I did that, and it gave me an item that I could then move on with. And I went, oh. And if you have the game set to giving you more hints, it does help you out with that a little more, and makes it a little more obvious. It was a pretty fun experience. It's survival horror-y. If you're somebody who is too scaredy cat like me, there are parts where it gets dark and scary, and that I would turn on invulnerability mode. I'm not afraid to admit that, because it's not the kind of game I would normally play, and not the kind of thing, but I wanted to experience the story and experience the atmosphere. And then I played about 90% of the game on the normal setting without like invulnerability on, and without the extra hints for the stuff, and I had a great time. I played about 12 hours, and I earned a bunch of in-game rewards that you could then, on a second playthrough, give yourselves, rewarded items like unlimited ammo and different things to see if you can get more. There's an achievement for beating the game in 3 hours, and I'm like, how do you beat the game in 3 hours? It took me 12. But yeah, there's tons of replayability. It has a really good story. There's good voice acting. There's interesting characters that you want to know more about. It's got a very twisted. It's very like Twilight Zone, or be careful what you wish for is sort of the atmosphere here. If something good is happening, it's for a reason that's probably going to be bad. And it was very good. It's broken up into 3 chapters. The first chapter is in the sinking city itself, where you're navigating on a boat through areas to get items to then find that book that you need. The second chapter takes place in like a very messed up hospital. And then the third part takes place in a fish market. And each one has distinctive ways that you play that feel different, and different goals to get through. I got lost a few times until I figured out how to really read the map, and that made all the difference. It ran quite well on my PC. I ended up playing it because this didn't have like ray tracing or anything, which is really the bane of anything other than like a 50 series card. But I was able to play the game with my 3080 Ti and my 12th gen Intel i7 at 1440p native, no upscaling, max settings, and it was a locked 60 FPS except for 1 or 2 small sections where it dropped to 30, I could tell. Very, very good. It's very well optimized. I had a really, really good time with it. Now, it's so much so that it's made me want to go back and play the first one. In fact, it's made me want to go and pick up more games on GOG, because GOG has a sale. This is not a promotion for me. They have a sale on all the Frogwares adventure titles. They did all those Sherlock Holmes games that I never had a chance to play in the past from the 2000s onward. And a lot of them are like $1 or $2. So I'm going back, and I'm probably going to buy a few and just play them for myself, because even though they're not like all going to be this combat heavy, they're going to be much more of like the traditional investigative point and click adventure stuff. They do know how to do a cool atmosphere, so I'm very happy with it. The music was good, the presentation, the visuals were great, lip sync was good, the voice acting was good, very solid. There's a message at the beginning about how many people made the game in Ukraine and on the effects of the war and everything. I implore people to read it, take it to heart when you play it. It's a very, very good game. Kudos to them. Well worth playing, especially on PC. I know it's going to be available on PS5 as well, and on PC you can get it, you can get it on Xbox Series X and S, PS5, but on PC it's available on Steam, Epic, GOG. I've got a code on Steam. If you want, I would say if you're getting it on PC and you don't mind, not getting it through Steam, get it through GOG, because that the developers get their money, but then you also, in this world that we're living in right now about game preservation, we see what's happening with PlayStation, where they're getting rid of discs and ownership is basically got put out the window. They can take away your rights whenever. Steam technically could. They have backup plans. Epic, who knows what's going to happen. With GOG, if you do purchase from them, you get the copy of the game that you can install using their GOG Galaxy installer, but then you can get offline files that let you just download the raw install files, and there's no DRM. You can burn that to a DVD or get a USB stick or a SD card, throw it on there, put that on your gaming shelf, make your own custom artwork, whatever you want to do, and have a copy that you can then transfer to another PC. When your PC breaks in 10, 15, 20 years, however long it takes, it'll work. So if you have the option when it's a brand new game like this and they're roughly the same price, pick it up on GOG. That's just my personal recommendation. And like I said, all their previous stuff's on sale on there. Like, there's a bunch of them for like $2, $3. If you got the money, go for it. It's pretty awesome. So I am very happy with this. I like I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to purchase the Sinking City 1, see how different it is. I know that there's a remaster version. That's probably the version I'm going to play. And we'll sort of jump in. I might do a check-in on this. I think this is something Birdman would really like. He loves stuff with like the Necronomicon. He loves stuff with the the dark, deep ones and old ones and dark gods and all the H.P. Lovecraft stuff. So I'll give him a hint that maybe his PC won't be able to do it, but this is something that he might want to check out on PlayStation when he gets the chance.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
All right, and that is going to do it for the show this week. I think it was a little shorter. There wasn't quite as many reviews to go in, but they were really like some really good stuff in here from FiiO and you know, some games and whatnot and other stuff. We're sort of splitting it into two because there's a few things we have embargoed for next week. I'm going to double check live right now and see what is it that am I able to talk about the stuff? Yeah, I can. It's close enough. I have a review coming. It won't be on the embargo day because it's too soon between our programs, but over the next few days, I should have a review ready to go for Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy. That is Plague Tale 3, for those that are unknown. I will also have review, or at least some information to talk about. Hint, hint, wink, wink, some stuff that I was able to experience before Gamescom opening night live that as of this recording hasn't come out yet, but as of when I'm able to talk about it, you will hear about it. So I did have an opportunity to check out something that I think is really cool, and I can't say what it is or who it's for, but it's something that will be a part of opening night live. So if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, that'll be tomorrow. Or if you're listening to it this week, might want to go back and you might be able to figure out which thing I got to have a chance to take part of. But that was pretty sweet. I've got some movies and some other stuff coming that we'll be talking about. I also have some books and like actual fiction novels. The representative for Del Rey Books reached out and said, hey, you guys are nerds and you're in geeks and you do sci-fi and fantasy stuff and you do RPGs and all this sort of stuff. Would you like to check out some books from Terry Brooks and some others that, like, here's some new books that are coming out and they're part of a new franchise or a new trilogy. The newest one's coming out on hardcover. Can we send you a copy of the book? And I'm like, well, I don't know the franchise. And they're like, well, we'll send you the other books in the franchise and see if you consider it. I'll read them. If I think they're going to be something that's like up to, they'll be up to snuff. It's good writers, obviously, but like if it's something that I think will interest our particular audience, then I'll mention it. Might end up in some of our gift guides or roundups. We'll see how that goes, but I'll be reading some novels and maybe see how we can work that into some of our programming over the next few weeks, because I've got a few more in the mail coming. We have Call of Duty Modern Warfare for beta. We did have beta access. I played it. I don't know if we're going to be discussing it very much. Maybe we'll do, probably on the opening night live prototype, we'll do a little intro where we just talk a little bit about what we played. I only played the single player of it. The second weekend is upcoming, and that's what I'm going to see about playing with other people, including like people on Switch 2 when it's opening up to like the open beta. I was in the closed right now, the early access beta. So I'll have thoughts on that shortly. And beyond that, there's been, I got some demos to check out for Kalanoro, which is an action platformer on PC. So I'll probably have some thoughts on that, but that came in too soon for me to give proper thoughts on it. I also have some movies coming in. There's some stuff probably from Kensington, so that was for back to school stuff. I don't know what the schedule is, and that's why we didn't have like a proper back to school episode so far. It's sort of splitting it up. We'll see if that stuff comes before the next week's show, then it'll be a back to school show. If not, it'll be a regular show where we put in some back to school ideas. Outside of that, well, the boys don't have anything major. Birdman is working on some reviews. He said he's going to have some stuff in that he's been, watching. He's got movies and books and games and stuff, and he's going to have some stuff in for us to talk about next week before we come back on the regular programming in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, as far as anything else, we've pre-recorded some shows that Earth vs. Soup is coming out this week, and that particular one is going to be The Hanging Woman, episode 322 from 1973. The following week after that is The Diabolical Dr. Z from 1966 movie. And then we should be back the week that the next one comes out, which is The House That Screamed from 1969. As far as other programs, this week's the spell book is, let me see here, episode 26. It's on support heroes. So that'll be coming out, as always, CFRU Radio, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're listening live over the air or on their like their app or through streaming that way. It airs live then at 12 noon Eastern. And then around 6 p.m., we usually syndicate a copy on our podcast afterwards if you've missed it live. And then we have a Twig Random Access Memories on Video Game Thoughts. That is coming in the regular Monday time slot. The following week is when we should be back for our regular program. If not, we will have another one in there. It just depends on the schedule. But we still have a couple of episodes of Loose Cannon that we can sort of coming soon. We just don't have a specific date for it yet, but we'll slot that in if we need to. We have a Darkman trilogy discussion ready to go. We also have a Random Access Memories on underrated performances from great actors. There's a few more shows that have been recorded. They're in the process of being edited. We've also got already ready. It's just being edited right now. We've got our Halloween special with Angry Video Game Nerd with James Rolfe, our yearly one. I think this is probably the 15th year or more that we've been doing that with him. We'll have that for the week of Halloween. We've also got other programs in pre-production for the month of October for Halloween. I'm still working on getting the assets done for music and incidental intros and outros and everything for the television podcast that we're going to be doing, that I'm going to be hosting on lost television shows, forgotten TV shows. Believe I've pretty much settled on a name. I have artwork for it and everything already made, and it'll be This Week in Geek's Forgotten TV Wasteland is the idea. No fun acronym for that or anything, just something cool and some pretty cool artwork to go along with it in a similar motif and style to what our modern updated artwork has been like. I've been saying for like a year it's time to update our website. It's kind of difficult to do it without doing a significant major overhaul, so we're probably going to be refreshing with a new theme for it, adding some more sections, some more bios for our guys, because we've got more people on the crew. It'll be more of an iterative update. Last time it was a massive, dramatic change in 2020. It's going to be incremental this time, a little bit more like we used to do, and it's still fairly functional as is, so just maybe make some slight changes around, and then also change our artwork, because all of our artwork except the main show's artwork has changed. We already have that new artwork made. It's just we're going to launch it when the website has it all, to the right size and everything. That, and there's plans to do more streaming stuff to get more integration with video for streaming games and that sort of stuff in the future. So maybe we'll end up doing more stuff like when there's like the Game Awards or something. Maybe we'll do some co-streams and stuff. We'll see, because that could be a complimentary thing. We do that, and then we can then have our discussion after that turns into an audio podcast. We'll see how that goes. Stuff like that. We're playing it by ear, but that's going to do it for us this week. We're almost back from our summer vacation. I can't wait to get back into recording weekly with Birdman. It's been a good vacation, but it's also been a hot and hectic one, even though we were supposed to be relaxing. But that's it. We'll be back next week with another one of these review shows before we're back from vacation, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.